to episode 14 of season 2 of My Dog Will Eat My Face. I've had a lot of people recently ask me what the heck is up with the title of my podcast. A few people have asked around. It got to me trying to understand, why would I name it something so macabre? Well, the answer is kind of simple. You often see these stories of people who die in their sleep. And more than likely, that's how I'm going to go too. I'm going to die in my sleep. So, what happens is, at least in these news articles, they report that the dog or the cat or whatever it is, lizard, I don't know, ends up eating at least part of the owner once they died. And so I kind of anticipate my dog will be sleeping with me, and I guess I'll probably die in my sleep. That's the most likely scenario, frankly. And my dog will just go, holy smokes, he just turned into a giant ham sandwich. And he will dig in. So that's where the name comes from, in case anyone's wondering still. Why I say my dog will eat my face. And that's usually where they start, incidentally, too, when I read these articles. These animals, they start with the face. Yes, it's macabre. Yes, it's dark. It's gallows humor. If I didn't have that, I would be absolutely a mess, to be honest. So, anyway, moving onward to a topic at hand. You know, I have got to vent a little bit, and this might be a short podcast, I don't know, because it's mostly just going to be me complaining about one thing. And it's the advice that I universally get from medical practitioners throughout the world. Nurses, doctors, RNs, doesn't matter. I get the same advice from all of them. And that is, put your feet up. They always say, put your feet up. And I think it is the most ridiculous, stupidest form of advice I could possibly think of. And in this podcast, I'm going to vent about that and describe why I think that is an incredibly stupid form of advice, and why I just don't like it. So, dig in and we'll tear apart this medical advice that I hear so freaking often. Enjoy. So what is wrong with this advice? Why is it so wrong that I have to dedicate an entire podcast to saying put your feet up is completely useless and asinine? advice to CHF sufferers because it assumes you're not doing anything. It assumes that you are reclining maybe in a lazy boy and just waiting for your death to come around the corner, and you're not doing anything whatsoever except maybe watching Shark Week on the boob tube and reclining with your feet well elevated, waiting for the inevitable. That's what it sort of depicts in my mind when they say, put your feet up. That's exactly what I imagine. A lazy boy, feet up, waiting to die. Now, if you're a listener to my podcast, you know I'm actually pretty active for someone who's dying. And oftentimes it causes issues for me, like falling and severe injuries and bashing my head in. It can cause issues for me because my body is not capable to keep up with me as much as I would like, and it suffers when it fails to keep up with me. I fall or whatever. Anyway, I still live a pretty active life. I cannot imagine, except for when I sleep, what scenario I would be in to where I'd be putting my feet up. I mean, it just portrays someone who is given up, who's reclining, who's just waiting for the inevitable, probably wearing sweatpants too. That's another sign that someone's given up on life. They're sweatpants. They're phoning it in. And I can't have that. That's not me. And so that advice is just insufferable when I hear it. And I hear it all the time from nurses, from doctors. It's ubiquitous. Put your feet up, put your feet up, put your feet up. It's like, no. What time? Okay, I want to be cooking dinner tonight. How am I going to put my feet up while I'm cooking dinner? I've got a friend coming over. How am I going to put my feet up when I'm entertaining company? How am I going to do anything with my feet up? You could say I could play video games and put my feet up. I've done that, and it's extremely uncomfortable, and I can't stand it. So no, I've tried that. I've tried putting my feet up while being at the computer, and I just can't stand it. So it's advice that, in my case, falls on deaf ears. It falls on maybe angry ears, actually. You could probably hear it. It just infuriates me. It's just like all that I can do is maneuver my sausage-shaped body to get the blood flowing back towards the heart, and nothing more I can do. Oh, but Matlock might be coming on pretty soon. You know, it just portrays an image of a retiree, useless, just someone who's gone, someone who's already gone and given up. That's why I don't like it. It portrays that to me. I'm probably overanalyzing it. I'm known to do that. I overanalyze a lot of crap, but just what it portrays in my mind is just repugnant. And yeah, I'm probably overanalyzing it, like I said, but oh well, that's how I see it. And I have a much better solution than putting my feet up that works better and actually does provide some real relief. And I'll talk about that solution here next. So, rather than shoving my feet up in the air and performing some strange acrobatic performance, I've encountered, so to speak, a much better solution to edema in the feet and in the legs. And that is edema massage, where you physically push in and force the fluid out back towards the heart rather violently, I must say, and hard. You press very hard, and it's very difficult, and it's painful because you're pushing a bunch of fluid through spaces that are not meant to carry that much fluid. But eventually you get it headed in the right direction and back to the heart where it could be recycled and reused. And to me, that is the best solution. I've had any layperson do it. I've had friends do it. I've had nurses do it. I've had family members do it, where all you need to do is grab onto basically the foot, apply extreme pressure with your hand, and push the fluid, and you'll see it. You'll see the swelling in the fluid, and you'll see it move like a wave, and you'll push it up the leg and back towards the heart. And see, the problem with edema is it's painful because there's something there that shouldn't be. And there's no drug that's going to solve that. So, for example, if you have a dagger jammed into your leg, you're not going to get very far treating that until you get the damn dagger out of your leg. And edema is very similar. You got to get the fluid out of the area where it hurts, because it's too much fluid in an area that can't handle it, and the nerves are screaming in pain from it, and the only real solution is to push it out and get it back towards the heart. Now, you would think this would be ubiquitous. You would think that people with CHF would be lining up for this kind of service. But no. Trying to find this service and find solutions that do this is laughable. I very rarely find someone willing to do an edema massage, or a masseuse who knows what an edema massage is, because it's not like a regular massage. It's not like a foot massage, something stupid like that. It's literally pushing the fluid back towards the heart. It's pretty violent and it's very painful. So yeah, I could see partially why it's not very popular, but it works. It gets the fluid out of the area where it's in pain, and though for the life of me it is almost impossible to find that solution anywhere. And it's the bane of my existence. I would have a hobo that I didn't know do this for me if I could. I mean, because the relief that I get from pushing the fluid back towards the heart is so incredible. Sure, it's only temporary, and fluid goes right on back, but hey, I clip my nails, and even though they regrow, right, it's still relief. So, that's what I recommend, and I think that CHF sufferers should rise up and fight for edema massage as a general solution, as opposed to sticking your feet up in the air like an idiot. It's just, I can't believe it. It's like I could just see me sitting there at my desk with my feet up in the air. Joe, what are you doing? No, my feet are up. What do you mean? I'm just doing my taxes. Yeah, my feet are up. It's so stupid. Anyway, so I highly recommend that solution in lieu of sticking your feet up. And I hope the world at hand will take that seriously and make that change in my lifetime. It's unlikely, but hey, a man can hope, a man can dream. So, we shall see. Now, I'll mention one thing I do to help relieve the pressure and the pain from the edema. Since I'm on that topic, obviously, edema massage is wunderbar. It's a great solution, but you gotta find somebody to do it. And that's where it's problematic. Like I said, it's so simple, anyone could do it, and I would seriously just have a hobo do it if I could. I really don't care who does it. I've had a lot of strange people, believe it or not, do it for me, including family members. So that's a problem. If let's say it's midnight and your feet are killing you from the edema, there's no one around to take care of that problem, to take care of that fluid. What do? So, I must confess, what I do is, I guess, a little exercise where I'm reluctant to even say this. I put my feet up, even though I just blasted that idea. But I do put my feet up for a bit. And what I do is I grab my foot with my hands and apply very hard pressure where the edema is, where the swelling is, and push it down and down the leg and back towards the heart. Now, it's very difficult to do because you're pushing the fluid yourself, and it's just the strength is not as not is not as what's the word, useful as it is from when someone else does it. When someone else does it, they could apply their full upper body strength. When you're doing this with your own hand, you're kind of like handicapped. You know, you're only able to apply, maybe a half of your strength because it's just an awkward position. It really has nothing to do with how strong you are. It's just the position you're in and that you put yourself in to try to get the fluid down. It's just awkward. That's all there is to it. So yeah, I will if my edema is particularly bad and there's no one to help me. I'll put my feet up, my legs up, and I will push down. I'll grab it with my hand, push down wherever it might be. If it's in the foot, I'll do that. If it's in the legs, I'll do that. I oftentimes have it in the legs too. And what I'll do is I'll apply pressure and push that, or try to push that fluid back down towards the heart. And sometimes it works. I mean, honestly, I can actually look at before and after. I mean, I could see before I started the swelling, and then when I'm done, I could see the swelling is gone. Another barometric that I can use is the pain goes away. So when the edema is particularly bad, it hurts incredibly. Once I get the fluid out and the edema is no longer profound or present, it just no longer hurts to apply pressure and a push. It's normal. So that's kind of like my hybrid of doing it myself. So that's my personal advice to anyone else out there who suffers from CHF. But don't be afraid to ask people to push the fluid back towards your heart. It's a medical thing. It's not a foot massage. There's no hanky panky. In my case, it's extremely painful, so it's absolutely no arousal to this. And it's a medical necessity. And if there's someone there who can actually do it and push the fluid back towards your heart, it's just incredibly helpful. And you need to communicate to them just like that. It's a medical necessity, and it's pushing the fluid out from where it is, where it's causing all this pain, and pushing it back towards the heart where it can be recycled. And it's just that simple. Anyway, that's my advice. So I guess I completely screwed myself over by admitting that I do put my feet up to help alleviate the edema. But I do it in concert with trying to push the fluid down. The goal is to get the freaking fluid out of there. And that's what I do. To do that, either have someone else do it, which is the best, or do it on my own, which is hit or miss. But at least it's an attempt. So, take it for what it is. with all that said, including my rant and doctor's advice, and my completely unrequested advice, I think I'll wrap this week's podcast as it is. Sorry it's not much of anything too spectacular this week. Things are otherwise pretty dry and slow here in my life. Not much is going on. In the back of my mind, I'm thinking about starting to cook dinner. So, there's not a lot to report on. It's just that simple. And sometimes you're left with just nothing but a complaint about stupid advice because you're sick of hearing it. Because I did hear that once more today, and it just made me snap. So you, my friends, are the lucky victims of me snapping and complaining about that terrible advice that I get from doctors. You're the lucky victims. Congrats. But if you made it this far through the podcast, I applaud you. You are one strong individual, and I am truly impressed. I can't even begin to imagine your fortitude. Because this was probably a pretty rough podcast to sit through. Anyway, the good news is I'm wrapping it up, and I hope to have something else for you in the following week. We shall see. And I really do appreciate you listening to the podcast. Again, if you've made it this far, you are a hero. You have incredible strength to be able to listen to my incessant babbling. Thank you for listening to me. Thank you for giving me a voice and a place to share my experiences, whether it's profound or whether it's a complaint about, I don't know, daily life with congestive heart failure. So, all those can happen, and I appreciate you taking the time to listen. So, don't forget to select follow on the podcast and turn on notifications so you're notified of future podcasts that are not maybe just me complaining. Maybe. I complain a lot. So, it's just a maybe. There might be some podcasts where it's not complaining. But if you turn on that notification, it gives you a chance to encounter a non-complaint podcast. So, it's a good thing. You don't turn on notifications, and who knows, you might be missing a brilliant non-complaint podcast that solves all of your problems. Never know. Anyway, I am going to hop out of this hole I've dug for myself, and thank you again. And for now, I shall say, auf Wiedersehen.